This is a brutal truth that no one will tell you, but you need to know. Many seniors unknowingly push their family away without realizing it. If you've noticed that your children or grandchildren don't call as often, visit less frequently, or seem distant, it's not just bad luck. There's a reason behind it. It's easy to assume that people get busy or that life just moves on, but in reality, your own habits and behaviors might be making you invisible to your loved ones. In this video, we'll uncover 10 shocking reasons why families slowly drift away from their older relatives. These are mistakes that many seniors make without realizing the damage they cause until it's too late. Find out if you're making these mistakes and learn how to turn things around before your family completely disconnects from you. You can rebuild respect, strengthen relationships, and keep your loved ones close, but only if you recognize the problem and take action now. Watch until the end to make sure you're not pushing your family away without even knowing it. Constant complaining is one of the fastest ways to push people away without realizing it. At first, your family may listen sympathetically, nodding along as you vent your frustrations about your health, the world, or how things were better in the past. But over time, if every conversation revolves around negativity, people begin to feel drained rather than uplifted by your presence. No one wants to spend time with someone who always focuses on what's wrong instead of what's right. Negativity is exhausting. It doesn't just affect the person who's complaining, it affects everyone around them. Imagine visiting someone and knowing that the conversation will always turn into a list of grievances. The weather is terrible, the neighbors are rude, the government is a disaster, young people don't have respect anymore. Even if some of these things are true, hearing them repeatedly creates an atmosphere of heaviness and frustration. Over time, people start to associate your presence with stress rather than warmth, and instead of looking forward to seeing you, they begin to avoid interactions altogether. It's not that your family doesn't care. They do. But when every visit, phone call, or conversation turns into an emotional burden, they start limiting contact. They check in less often. Calls become shorter. Excuses to skip visits become more frequent. And before you know it, you feel abandoned, when in reality, the people around you are simply protecting their own peace of mind. But the problem with negativity goes beyond relationships. It also affects your own well-being. Studies have shown that constant complaining increases stress hormones in the body, leading to higher blood pressure, weakened immunity, and even a greater risk of depression. The more you focus on what's wrong, the harder it is to see what's right. Your brain actually rewires itself to look for problems, making negativity a habit that becomes harder and harder to break. The good news? You can shift this pattern and rebuild connections with your family. It starts with awareness. The next time you talk to a loved one, pay attention to what you say. Are you complaining within the first few minutes? Are you bringing up the same frustrations over and over again? If so, take a step back and make a conscious effort to change the tone of the conversation. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, try asking your family about their lives. Show genuine interest in their day, their work, their hobbies. Let them talk about themselves without turning the conversation back to your struggles. People are drawn to those who make them feel heard and valued. And by shifting your focus outward, you create space for more meaningful and enjoyable interactions. Gratitude is another powerful tool. Every day, make it a habit to think about 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. Maybe it's the sunshine, a good cup of coffee, or a kind word from a stranger. When you begin looking for positives, you train your brain to focus on what's good, rather than what's missing. And when you share those thoughts with others, you naturally become a person people enjoy being around. That doesn't mean you have to ignore your struggles or pretend everything is perfect. Life has its challenges, and it's okay to talk about them. But there's a difference between sharing your thoughts occasionally and making negativity your default mode of communication. If you find yourself stuck in a cycle of complaining, consider finding another outlet. Journaling, joining a support group, or even speaking with a therapist can help you process emotions in a way that doesn't push others away. Remember, people are naturally drawn to warmth, encouragement, and positivity. The more you can bring those qualities into your interactions, the more your family will want to spend time with you. Instead of being the person they avoid, you'll become someone they look forward to seeing. It's never too late to change. If you've noticed that your family has been distant, take a moment to reflect on how your words might be affecting your relationships. A small shift in mindset can make all the difference in rebuilding connections and ensuring that the people you love want to be around you, not out of obligation, but because they truly enjoy your company. If you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on staying connected, respected, and valued by your family. Now, let's move on to another mistake that can push people away: constant criticism instead of support. Many seniors don't realize that their well-intended advice often sounds like criticism to their children and grandchildren. While you may think you're offering wisdom, guidance, or just trying to help, your words might be pushing your loved ones away. No one likes to feel like they're constantly being judged, and over time, criticism, even when meant to be helpful, can damage relationships and create emotional distance. Imagine your child or grandchild excitedly telling you about a big decision. Maybe they just got a new job, bought a home, or are raising their kids in a way that's different from how you did. Instead of celebrating their choice, you point out the risks, question their decisions, or suggest a better way to do things. You may think you're being helpful, but to them, it feels like you don't trust their ability to make their own choices. Over time, this pattern makes them hesitate to share things with you, avoid deep conversations, and eventually stop seeking your opinion altogether. One of the most painful realities of aging is realizing that you no longer have control over how your family lives their lives. Your children are grown, your grandchildren are making their own choices, and whether you agree with them or not, your role has shifted from authority figure to supportive presence. The problem is that many seniors struggle to let go of that control. Instead of offering encouragement, they correct, critique, or remind their loved ones of what they should be doing differently. The result? Resentment, frustration, and emotional distance. No one likes to feel like they're constantly under scrutiny, and if every interaction leaves them feeling criticized rather than supported, they'll eventually avoid talking to you altogether. You might wonder why your children don't call as often, why your grandkids don't visit, or why family gatherings feel tense. The truth is, if they associate your presence with judgment rather than warmth, they'll subconsciously pull away. So how can you express your thoughts without damaging relationships? The key is choosing your words carefully and knowing when to stay silent. Before offering advice, ask yourself, is this really necessary? Or am I just offering my opinion uninvited? Is this coming from a place of love, or am I trying to control the situation? Will my words build them up or make them feel small? If your advice isn't truly needed, consider holding back. Sometimes the best way to strengthen relationships is by simply listening and showing support rather than trying to fix things. Instead of saying, "That's a terrible idea, you should do it this way instead." Try, "That's interesting, what made you decide on that?" Instead of, "You're raising your kids all wrong, that's not how we did it in my day." Try, "Parenting has changed a lot since I raised my kids. I'd love to hear more about how you approach things." When you shift from criticism to curiosity, from correction to encouragement, your family will start to feel safer sharing their lives with you. They'll call more often, visit more frequently, and truly enjoy spending time with you. That doesn't mean you have to agree with everything your family does, but learning to support their choices rather than question them will deepen your bond rather than weaken it. Respecting their independence shows that you trust them, which in turn makes them more likely to seek your advice when they truly need it. If you've ever struggled with letting go of control, let's share our experiences in the comments. How have you learned to balance offering guidance with respecting your loved one's choices? If every conversation with your family somehow turns back to you, your experiences, your health, your opinions, without space for others to share, it's likely that over time they'll stop engaging. Many seniors don't realize they're doing this, but when every discussion becomes a one-way street, people feel unheard, unimportant, and eventually they stop reaching out. It's natural to want to share stories, especially as you get older and have a lifetime of experiences. But if every conversation becomes a history lesson, a list of complaints, or a reminder of how things were better in your day, your children and grandchildren may start feeling disconnected. Younger generations want to feel valued, understood, and included in the conversation, not just like they're an audience for your memories. One of the biggest mistakes people make in conversations is not truly listening. If you find yourself waiting for your turn to talk, rather than engaging with what the other person is saying, you might be unintentionally dominating discussions. People want to feel like their thoughts, struggles, and achievements matter. If they feel like they can't share those things with you because every conversation circles back to your experiences, they'll start calling less and visiting less. The key to stronger relationships is active listening. Instead of responding with a story about yourself, ask follow-up questions about their lives. If your grandchild tells you about school, don't jump into a long story about your childhood. Ask them about their favorite subject, their friends, or what excites them about the future. If your child talks about their job, resist the urge to compare it to your past work experience, and instead ask, "What do you love most about it?" Changing the way you approach conversations doesn't mean you can't share your experiences. It just means making room for others first. A good balance is letting them talk twice as much as you do. If you're unsure whether you dominate conversations, reflect on your last phone call or visit. Did you spend more time talking or listening? Making conversations more engaging isn't just about strengthening relationships. It's about making sure your family wants to talk to you. When people feel heard, valued, and appreciated, they naturally want to connect more. If you want your family to call more often, visit more frequently, and enjoy your company, start by making conversations about them. Ask more questions, show genuine interest, and make them feel just as important as you hope to feel in return. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more advice on maintaining strong and meaningful family connections. Respecting boundaries is one of the most important factors in maintaining strong, healthy relationships with your family. Yet, many seniors unintentionally cross lines that make their children and grandchildren feel suffocated or controlled. The result? Emotional withdrawal, fewer phone calls, and more distance in the relationship. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that family closeness means unlimited access. Just because you're a parent or grandparent doesn't mean you have the right to know everything. Give unsolicited advice or expect immediate responses to your calls and messages. When you frequently check in, ask prying questions, or make unannounced visits, your family may feel overwhelmed rather than loved. Privacy is essential for every relationship, including those between parents and adult children. If your child or grandchild feels like they can't have their own space, they'll start pulling away. They may stop sharing personal details, keep conversations short, or even ignore calls and visits just to maintain some distance. The same goes for offering opinions or making decisions for them. If you constantly tell them how to raise their kids, how to spend their money, or how they should live their lives, even with good intentions, it can feel like a violation of their independence. No one wants to feel like they're being managed, even by a parent. So how can you respect boundaries and strengthen your relationships instead of straining them? The key is to let them take the lead. Instead of forcing advice, wait for them to ask for it. Instead of showing up unexpectedly, ask if it's a good time to visit. Instead of calling multiple times a day, let them reach out when they're available. These small changes show respect for their space, which makes them feel more comfortable spending time with you. One of the best ways to maintain closeness is to ask what they need from you, rather than assuming. A simple question like, "How can I support you without overstepping?" can make a huge difference. It shows that you care but also respect their independence. When people feel like their boundaries are honored, they are more willing to engage. Instead of avoiding your calls, they'll look forward to talking to you. Instead of dreading a visit, they'll genuinely enjoy the time you spend together. Respect isn't about doing less, it's about doing what truly strengthens relationships. When you give people the space they need, they are far more likely to come back to you on their own terms. Do you think respecting boundaries is key to strong relationships? Let's talk in the comments. Having expectations from family is natural, but when those expectations become overwhelming, they can push people away. Many seniors unknowingly place too much emotional, physical, or financial pressure on their children and grandchildren. And when those expectations feel like a burden, family members start withdrawing to protect themselves. It often starts with small things: wanting more frequent visits, expecting immediate responses to calls, or assuming that family should always be available. But over time, if loved ones feel like they can never do enough, they may begin to pull away, limit contact, or feel guilty every time they talk to you. One of the biggest mistakes seniors make is turning family relationships into obligations rather than choices. When people feel like they are expected to visit instead of wanting to visit, the dynamic changes. Love turns into duty, and connection turns into pressure. Instead of enjoying time together, they start to feel resentful, overburdened, and even guilty when they can't meet your expectations. Another common issue is assuming that your children and grandchildren should prioritize your needs over their own. While families should always care for each other, they also have their own lives, responsibilities, and challenges. If they feel like they can never do enough for you, they may start avoiding interactions just to escape the stress and guilt. So how can you maintain close relationships without overwhelming your loved ones? The key is appreciation, not expectation. Instead of focusing on what they're not doing, show gratitude for what they do. If your child calls once a week, thank them, instead of asking why they don't call more often. If your grandchild visits for an hour, appreciate the time rather than mentioning how short the visit was. Letting go of rigid expectations makes family interactions feel lighter, warmer, and more enjoyable. When your children and grandchildren feel valued instead of pressured, they will naturally want to spend more time with you. Another powerful shift is giving without expecting anything in return. If you do something kind, whether it's a small gift, a compliment, or offering help, do it because you want to, not because you expect the same in return. Relationships thrive when they are based on mutual respect and joy, not transactions or obligations. By focusing on appreciation instead of demands, you create an environment where your family wants to be around you instead of feeling like they have to be. The less pressure they feel, the more naturally they will engage with you. If you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on keeping strong, loving relationships with your family. Holding on to grudges is one of the fastest ways to create distance between you and your family. When past conflicts, misunderstandings, or disappointments remain unresolved, they slowly poison relationships, turning love into resentment and connection into avoidance. You may think that your loved ones should apologize first or acknowledge their mistakes, but in reality, waiting for someone else to make the first move often leads to permanent emotional distance. Bringing up old conflicts, even in small ways. You never helped me when I needed you. I always did more for you than you did for me. Or I remember when you let me down, creates tension that makes people hesitant to be around you. No one enjoys feeling guilty, blamed, or like they will never be forgiven. Over time, if every interaction is overshadowed by past grievances, family members may start avoiding conversations altogether just to escape the negativity. The truth is, holding on to resentment hurts you just as much as it hurts your relationships. Studies have shown that people who hold grudges experience higher stress, increased blood pressure, and even a weakened immune system. Emotional pain can turn into physical pain, making it harder to enjoy life. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending that hurtful things never happened. It means choosing to let go of the anger that keeps you stuck. When you forgive, you release yourself from the burden of bitterness and create space for healing, warmth, and reconnection. If a past conflict has caused distance between you and your family, you don't have to wait for them to fix it. Take the first step, not for them, but for yourself. A simple message, a kind word, or an honest conversation can open the door to rebuilding a relationship that has been strained for years. Instead of saying, "You never apologized," try saying, I don't want the past to get in the way of our future. Instead of thinking, they owe me, remind yourself that relationships are more valuable than being right. The strongest families aren't those without conflict. They are the ones who choose to move past it. Letting go of grudges doesn't mean allowing yourself to be mistreated. It means choosing peace over resentment, understanding over anger, and love over pride. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on keeping strong, meaningful relationships with your loved ones. Refusing to accept change is one of the most common reasons why seniors start feeling disconnected from their families. While it's natural to prefer familiar ways of doing things, resisting change, whether it's new technology, modern lifestyles, or shifting family dynamics, can slowly push your loved ones away. Younger generations live in a world that is constantly evolving, and when they feel that you're not interested in keeping up, they may stop making the effort to include you. Many seniors fall into the habit of saying things like, "I don't understand all this new technology," or "things were better in my time." While these thoughts may be true for you, they can unintentionally create distance between you and your family. If your children and grandchildren feel that you reject their way of life, they may struggle to connect with you on a meaningful level. One of the biggest gaps between generations today is technology. Younger people rely on smartphones, social media, and video calls to stay connected. If you refuse to learn how to use these tools, you might be cutting yourself off from important conversations, family updates, and daily interactions. A grandchild who prefers texting over phone calls might reach out less often if they know you don't text back. A child who prefers video calls over in-person visits may stop checking in if they feel you're unwilling to meet them halfway. But change isn't just about technology. It's about attitude. Some seniors struggle with accepting the changing values, habits, and lifestyles of their children and grandchildren. You might not agree with how they raise their kids, manage their work-life balance, or spend their time. But if every conversation turns into a debate about how things should be done, your family may start avoiding certain topics, or worse, avoiding you altogether. The seniors who maintain the closest relationships with their families are the ones who stay curious, open-minded, and engaged with the world. They may not understand every new trend, but they show interest instead of resistance. They may not agree with every new idea, but they ask questions instead of dismissing them. So how can you stay connected in a rapidly changing world? Start with small steps. If technology feels overwhelming, ask a grandchild to teach you how to send a text, use FaceTime, or browse the internet. If you're confused about a new cultural trend or way of thinking, ask your children about it with curiosity rather than judgment. The more you show interest in their world, the more they'll want to include you in it. A simple way to build stronger relationships is to find common ground. Maybe you and your grandchild don't share the same taste in music or entertainment, but you might both love storytelling, history, or art. Instead of focusing on differences, look for shared interests that can create meaningful conversations and activities. It's also important to embrace learning. Trying something new, whether it's a new hobby, a new type of music, or even a new way of cooking, keeps your mind active and shows your family that you are still engaged with life. The more you are open to learning, the more your family will enjoy sharing experiences with you. Change is inevitable, but how you respond to it determines the quality of your relationships. You don't have to love every new trend, agree with every modern idea, or become an expert in technology. But by staying open, curious, and willing to adapt, you create a bridge between generations, one that keeps your family connected and engaged with you. Have you tried learning something new recently? Let's share in the comments. Not taking care of yourself is one of the fastest ways to create distance between you and your family. You may not realize it, but when your loved ones constantly worry about your health, it changes the way they interact with you. Instead of enjoying their time with you, they feel stressed, overwhelmed, or even helpless. Many seniors neglect their physical and mental well-being without realizing how much it affects their relationships. Skipping doctor visits, ignoring symptoms, refusing to take medications properly, or leading an unhealthy lifestyle doesn't just impact you. It puts pressure on your family. If your children and grandchildren spend more time worrying about you than actually enjoying your company, they may start feeling emotionally drained and less eager to visit. One of the biggest concerns that families have is seeing their parents or grandparents lose independence. No one wants to watch a loved one struggle, and when seniors neglect their health, it can make their family feel guilty, frustrated, or powerless. Instead of having meaningful conversations or fun outings, interactions become focused on medical issues, doctor's appointments, and trying to convince you to take better care of yourself. Taking care of your health isn't just about adding years to your life. It's about making sure those years are enjoyable, active, and fulfilling. When you prioritize your well-being, you reduce stress for your family and create more opportunities to share happy, worry-free moments together. Simple daily habits can make a big difference. Regular exercise, even just a 15-minute walk, keeps your body strong and reduces the risk of falls. Eating nutritious meals, staying hydrated, and getting enough sleep boost your energy levels and improve your mood. Keeping up with medical checkups ensures that small health issues don't turn into major problems. And taking care of your mental health by staying engaged in hobbies, socializing, and practicing gratitude keeps your mind sharp and your outlook positive. Another key aspect of maintaining good health is accepting help when needed. Many seniors resist using mobility aids, refuse to make home adjustments for safety, or avoid talking to their doctor about symptoms because they don't want to be a burden. But in reality, ignoring these things can make you more of a burden in the long run. Taking small steps to maintain your independence shows your family that you care about your well-being and value your time with them. When you take responsibility for your health, your family sees you as a source of joy, not stress. They visit because they want to spend time with you, not because they feel obligated to check on your condition. They call because they enjoy talking to you, not because they're worried something might be wrong. The more effort you put into taking care of yourself, the more present and engaged you can be in your relationships. It allows your family to focus on making memories with you, instead of constantly worrying about your well-being. If you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips on staying strong, independent, and connected. Pushing away help is one of the easiest ways to make your family stop offering support. Many seniors pride themselves on their independence, insisting that they can handle everything on their own. While self-sufficiency is a great quality, constantly rejecting assistance can lead to isolation, frustration, and missed opportunities for connection with loved ones. At first, your family may offer to help with small things, carrying groceries, fixing something around the house, or driving you to an appointment. But if you always respond with, "I don't need help," or "I can manage just fine," they will eventually stop asking. Over time, they may assume you don't want their involvement at all. And when the day comes when you actually do need help, they may not even realize it because they've been conditioned to stay away. Refusing help can also create unnecessary stress and worry for your family. When they see you struggling but hear you say, "I'm fine," they feel powerless, guilty, or frustrated. Your children and grandchildren want to be there for you, not because they think you're weak, but because helping is part of loving and caring for family. But if they feel that every offer of support is met with rejection, they may start to distance themselves rather than feel constantly shut out. The truth is, accepting help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It allows you to stay safer, live more comfortably, and maintain better relationships. It also gives your family a sense of purpose and connection. When you let them help with something small, whether it's setting up a new phone, driving you somewhere, or handling a home repair, you are giving them the chance to feel needed and involved in your life. The key to balancing independence and accepting support is knowing when to say yes and when to set boundaries. You don't have to accept help with everything, but allowing assistance with things that genuinely make life easier is a smart choice, not a surrender. If you resist help entirely, you may end up needing more help in the future due to accidents or exhaustion. Instead of automatically saying, "I've got it," try saying, "I appreciate that," or "That would actually be really helpful." This small shift in mindset shows gratitude and encourages continued connection. Your family doesn't want to watch you struggle. They want to share life with you. When you allow them to help, you invite them into your world rather than pushing them away. Have you ever struggled to ask for help? Let's talk in the comments. If you've noticed that your family calls less, visits less, or seems emotionally distant, it may not be because they don't care. It may be because certain behaviors have slowly pushed them away. The good news? You can change that. We've covered 10 of the biggest mistakes that cause seniors to feel lonely, ignored, or disconnected from their loved ones. From constant complaining and criticism, to refusing change, neglecting health, and rejecting help, these habits, often unintentional, can create distance that grows over time. But it's never too late to rebuild love and connection with your family. Even small shifts in your approach can make a world of difference. Start by listening more and criticizing less. Instead of offering unsolicited advice, show genuine curiosity about your family's lives. Make conversations about them as much as they are about you. Replace negativity with gratitude. When your children and grandchildren visit, focus on making them feel welcomed and appreciated, not guilty for not coming sooner. When they call, enjoy the moment instead of reminding them how long it's been. Respect their boundaries and their independence. Just as you want to be treated as an adult with your own life choices, your children and grandchildren want the same. Let them make their own decisions, raise their children in their own way, and live their lives without feeling judged. The more they feel accepted, the more they'll want to be around you. Take care of yourself, not just for your own well-being, but for theirs too. When your family sees you prioritizing your health, it reassures them that they don't need to worry about you all the time. They can enjoy their time with you instead of constantly feeling like they have to take care of you. Most importantly, don't let pride keep you from love. Accepting help, apologizing when needed, and choosing to let go of old conflicts can repair relationships faster than you think. No one is perfect, but the willingness to grow and change is what makes relationships last. Your family wants to love you. They want to be close to you. They want to enjoy their time with you. Make that time something they look forward to. A little warmth, a little understanding, and a little effort can bring back the connection you may have feared was lost. Because at the end of the day, love isn't about what we demand from others. It's about what we give.